Good afternoon, Mark Stott with HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Friday, the 4th of August, 2017. Let's take a look at what's going on in the tropics this afternoon. We do have two areas to watch. First is Invest Area 90L with a 60% chance of development as it heads towards the Yucatan and eventually into the Bay of Campeche. And then we have farther to the east, Invest Area 99L, and that has an 80% chance of developing down the road. And the reason that we go from 90 to 99 on the same map is because the numbering system for areas of interest goes from 90 to 99, and we've already used up through 99, which was this one, and so now we go back over to 90L with this system, if that makes any sense at all. You remember different systems that we've had throughout the year. The first one was 90L, then 91L, 92L, so forth and so on, and the L stands for Atlantic, and we've already gone through 90 through 99 already, and now this one's back to 90 again. It's just a way to designate resources, satellite floater loops, computer models for those specific areas. It's just a way to, and instead of just calling them disturbance 1 or disturbance 2, it's sort of the first step in determining whether a system will develop. So all that being said, let's take a look at the satellite loop for this afternoon. This is the area where 90L is currently located, and you might be thinking, well, there's really not much there, and that's true. The trade winds are coming through here pretty brisk, and so they are spreading the energy out over a fairly large area through here instead of bundling it together. But that'll probably change over in this area as the computer modeling is indicating, and then we could have a fairly strong system somewhere in this vicinity at some point next week. So we're going to want to watch that very closely, obviously. And then way out here in the eastern Atlantic is Invest Area 99L. Still some dry air out here, not nearly as much, but enough so that it's struggling just a little bit. I mean, you can see there's just a little bit, you can just tell right in here some dry air in there, not much convection, for example, right through there. And we'll get a different look at this in a moment. But if you look at the vorticity, this shows you how much spin or energy, is the way I like to look at it, is in the atmosphere. There's a pretty good amount of energy down here in the extreme southern Caribbean, central and southern Caribbean. All this has to do is move up here and consolidate, and then we'll have something starting to develop, and it could do so fairly quickly, probably happening somewhere between Jamaica and the Yucatan over here as we get down the road a couple more days. So that'll be really interesting to watch. And also, a pretty good amount of energy out here associated with Invest Area 99L, and it's at a fairly low latitude overall, and probably going to move off to the west-northwest with time. And you folks in the islands definitely want to keep an eye on this. I don't think this will be too much of an issue for the southern Windward Islands, Trinidad, Tobago, St. Lucia, etc. But farther to the north in the Lesser Antilles, this might be an issue. So if we look at the wider shot, this gives you a good idea of the structure based on the cloud photograph of 99L. Again, there's a good amount of energy sitting in here, no doubt about it. It's just spread out overall. It needs to consolidate. It's a large envelope of energy that, once it gets going, should ramp up and could become a hurricane at some point. It's hard to say. The GFS model in particular has been kind of back and forth, very intense. Some of the what we call mesoscale models, the hurricane-specific models, they did away with the GFDL. Now it's called the HMON, and then we have the HWRF, and those have been very aggressive, but I believe that they get their background data from the GFS, and so if the GFS is intense, I would assume that the mesoscale models are going to be intense as well. I should follow up on that to see if that's accurate, but the point is, a lot of the modeling was indicating, especially through last night, that 99L becomes a hurricane in fairly short order. So we'll have to see if that holds true, because other models don't show nearly as much strengthening. Looking at the Saharan air layer analysis, and this is pretty interesting, a lot less of the dry air seeping south now. It's way up here to the north. really coming off of northwest Africa through the Canaries, and even up towards the Iberian Peninsula, which is just off the shot there. So the Saharan dust and the dry air really starting to be confined farther away from these systems as they roll off. You have energy there, energy here, and then more energy over Africa, and that's moistening up the environment through here. And I mean, it's just August 4th, and we do have a lot of activity to talk about here. Usually it's not until later in August, I like to think after the 20th, that things really start to become interesting in a normal year. But this very well may be an above normal year with more activity than we're used to seeing over the past several years in particular. So let's take a look at the GFS, and what we're looking at is the 5,000 foot level, or 850 millibars high into the atmosphere, and we're looking at the spin that I was talking about from this map. So this is an analysis, this is what's going on now, and this is what the forecast is from the global forecast system over the next 5 days. And so you can see there's the energy in the Atlantic with 99L, and then somewhere in here is the energy for 90L. So watch what happens as I put this into motion over the next 5 days. We'll take it out to 120 hours, and this consolidates after about 24 hours or so, and in the model it probably becomes a tropical depression at that point. Fairly decent look to it overall, trying to look at clues to see if it makes sense, and it's got a nice round appearance to it. It's not oblong shape or kind of weird looking in the model. And then you also notice over here at the end of the 5 days, the GFS tries to develop this system coming out of the Caribbean Sea, ending up in the Bay of Campeche. So let's just go to the last image there at day 5. Tropical storm just east of the islands in the model anyway. This is what the model's showing. And then weak system in the southern Bay of Campeche. And this is really interesting and frustrating at the same time, because the European model, the ECMWF, depicts a very strong system in here and a very weak to non-existent system out here. So, which one's going to be right? I don't know. That's why we have to watch this on a daily basis and be ready to take action if something comes your way, right? I guess that makes the most sense at this point. So I'll be on top of it. We'll have these updates every single day, and you've got some great tools to follow along on a lot of these graphics right there within Hurricane Pro and HD, so I invite you to take advantage of that. All right, well, that's it from me for today. Have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend ahead. But remember, I will be posting these videos to you throughout the week, the next several days into next week, as these systems develop and potentially become a threat to land. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, my website, and for Hurricane Pro and HD, and I'll have more for you tomorrow.